If you certified those monitors last year, you need to certify them this year. So on this slide are the very specific parameters and pollutants that are subject to the certification requirement. They're due May 1st. So what actually has to be submitted to the region as part of this revised process? Well, you still have to submit the letter, which is unchanged. There's required language, which I've reprinted for you, comes right out of the CFR. You know, most folks, to be honest, go ahead and pull their letter from last year, change the dates, change anything applicable in the specific situation. Maybe their network has changed since last year. But whatever letter you used last year certainly is a good place to start for this year's certification letter. You make sure it references the right monitors. You get your senior official to sign it. You will run the AMP 600 report that Robert will be debuting for you shortly. You no longer, for the criteria pollutants, need the quick look of the AMP 255. But for those pollutants where the AMP 600 is not quite set up yet to handle, and I mentioned those previously, you'll have to run the AMP 450 NC report and include that with your submittal. These are elements of the reports, just little screenshots of things that have been submitted in the past. If Clark County happens to be on the line, I appreciate the fact they had a really nice letter, and I used it for an example from the previous year. If you've done certification before, you know that. You're referencing the reports, the pool of monitors that you're requesting for certification. You're addressing it to your regional administrator. And there's another page to this, obviously, this letter, but then it's being signed by your senior official. And that's really part of the legal requirement of meeting certification. And then you're going to be submitting these two reports. I'm simply showing you really the selection sheet that goes to each one. The newbie is the AMP 600, and the AMP 450 NC, for instance, for the speciation parameters, is something that's been around for a while, and you've certainly seen that before, so that should be very familiar to you. So what happens after you complete your submittal requirement? With the regional staff that I've mentioned before, they'll be looking at your packages. They will actually be able to pull up a lot of the information that you looked at and you used as the basis of your request in that AMP 600. That's a very cool aspect of this report, in that it is utilitarian both for state and local monitoring and certifying agencies and the regional staff who will be looking at it. They'll be looking at that. If it all looks complete and there's an understanding about why the Y or N flag, for instance, was requested for your parameters, the region then can open the same form, and with a couple of clicks of their mouse, they can add that Y flag. And then the process is really, truly completed in a lot more efficient manner than has been done in the past. If, because this is a new report, or if there's questions about what pool of monitors should have been certified and why, then you may get calls from your regions just in a follow-up mode, and that's really no different than probably happened in other years when there were questions about the certification process.
I'm Robert Coates. I'm the team lead for the AQS federal team, heading up changes and enhancements to AQS. And Lou's talked a bit about the process doing the certification from a business perspective, and I'm going to try to focus in a little bit about the technical details, what you as an organization need to do to get your data certified this year and going forward from here. But before I get into that, let me cover a couple of preliminaries about what we've done so far, how you can use those features that we've added to AQS. We've made really two changes to AQS in association with this that are visible to you. As Lou mentioned, we have added a new data certification report that you can get to via the standard report screen, and we've added a new certification form that will allow you to go in and specifically mark within AQS your requested certification flag for the monitors you want to certify, so that they're marked immediately going forward for the region to review and ultimately for the official flag to be set for those monitors that will be visible to the external world. The other thing that we've done as a setup to be able to do this is we've added a new certifying agency role to every criteria pollutant monitor, and it may be generalized, again, as Lou mentioned, to other parameters as we add them to the automated process. But if you're familiar with AQS, you're familiar with the fact that each monitor has a certain set of agency roles associated with it, and you can see those, or you can set those via the maintain monitor form or the batch transaction process. And those roles identify things like who is the reporting agency, in other words, who submits the data to AQS, who is the PQAO, or Primary Quality Assurance Organization, and for filter-based monitors, there is a collecting agency for who collects the filters. There's an analyzing agency for designating that a separate lab analyzes your filters. You've probably recently gone through setting those for lead. At this point, added this information to every monitor, and you should have gotten an email from Bill Fritchie of AQPS identifying that we've added these, asking you to review them and to verify that they're correct for your agency. And since they're simply a part of the normal AQS environment, you can update them or change them as the owner of those monitors, the screening group owner, as it's appropriate. What should you as an agency do to get started with the process? As I said, we've set up the certifying agency roles, but our recommendation to each agency, or at least a person at each agency to begin with, is to review those and verify that they're correct. You'll see in a minute that the easiest way to run the report or to run the form is to query everything for certifying agency. So you want those to be correct, and you want all the monitors that you're really planning on certifying to be assigned to you. And if somebody else is going to certify them, you want them assigned to the other agency. So you want to run the monitor description report from the standard report screen, which is AMP 390. And among other things, it will show you all of the roles assigned to each monitor that you query via the report. And you can compare that against your monitor network plan or the list of monitors that you normally certify to verify that they're correct. If you see an issue with it, if there's maybe one or two monitors, you can go in and use the maintain monitor form to change the certifying agency. Or if it's a monitor that for whatever reason should not be certified, you can delete the certifying agency role from that monitor. Or you can use the batch process if there are a set of them, more than you want to handle one at a time, and submit a set of batch transactions using the load process for fixing them. The assumption in both cases is you as the owner of the monitor have a screening group associated with you. Once you've gone through the preliminaries and you're ready to start certifying your data, what do you do? Well, obviously the first thing you do is do your ambient air quality monitoring as per the CFR Part 58. And your first step as the certifying agency is to go in and run the AMP 600 report that both I and Lou have mentioned, and it will give you, for each of the monitors, the set of evaluation criteria or the results of them that are part of the standard process.